A view of American life during the 1940s. Do you remember those family stories about when life moved slower, was tougher, but felt closer? Let's travel back to the 1940s, a decade of daily hardships and quiet heroism. How did people hold on to hope and joy amid so much uncertainty? Join us as we rediscover the resilience and unity that carried America through its darkest days. The dawn of a new era, from the Great Depression to war. Let me take you back to a time that perhaps your grandparents still hold deep memories of, a period of immense challenge, where every day was a quiet battle. The shadow of the Great Depression. Before the 1940s even began, the landscape of America was still shrouded in the deep darkness of the Great Depression of the 1930s. Can you imagine a time when not just homes and farmlands, but even dreams seemed to be swallowed by despair? Life back then was truly difficult. People struggled just to find enough food, clothing, and shelter. It was a relentless fight, where every penny, every piece of bread, was as precious as gold. Simple family meals, carefully patched old clothes, and rickety homes became common sights of daily life. Entertainment, something we take for granted today, became a luxury, non-essential, and cut first when money was tight. Can you imagine a life where even the small joy of a movie screening or a concert was out of reach? Yet, even in those dark times, Americans found incredible creativity. They learned to make do with what they had, turning old into new, and finding unique solutions to survive. It was a time of quiet sacrifices, where neighbors shared meals, and strangers helped each other without asking for anything in return. And above all, it was the power of community coming together to face adversity. Streets became places where everyone worked through difficulties together. No one was left behind. It wasn't just solidarity, but an indomitable spirit, a powerful will to rise, like seedlings sprouting through dry soil. Hi everyone, it's me from WhoRemembers, and I've got a quick update. This channel's having some tech issues, so we'll only post here once or twice a week. But good news. We've launched a brand new channel where we're now uploading 1 to 3 videos every day, full of the same nostalgic stories you love. Check out the link below, hit subscribe, and let's keep the memories alive together. The call to war, and a fateful change. But then, a louder call echoed across the world, pulling America out of its domestic concerns. World War II, which broke out in 1939 and lasted until 1945, touched every aspect of American life, completely changing the nation's destiny. Do you remember the stories of this powerful transformation? Initially, the United States maintained neutrality. After World War I, many Americans didn't want their country to be drawn into another global conflict. Isolationism was a strong ideology, keeping the U.S. out of the war, raging in Europe and Asia. But then, public opinion gradually shifted. News of the devastation, of the aggression by fascist and militaristic powers, stirred the American conscience. Despite much debate, more and more people realized that the world's security was their own security. And then, the fateful event occurred, the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, a day President Franklin D. Roosevelt called a date which will live in infamy, forced the U.S. to officially enter the war. This event awakened a sleeping giant, turning isolationism into a thing of the past and ushering in a new era of global intervention. No one could forget that day, as news of the surprise attack spread across the country, turning fear into ironclad determination. Throughout this difficult period, one great figure stood at the helm: Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR. He led the United States from 1933 until his death in 1945, navigating both the Great Depression and World War II. He is the only president in U.S. history to be elected to 4 consecutive terms. Can you imagine the weight on the shoulders of a man who had to lead a nation through the 2 greatest crises in its history? His New Deal policies helped lift the country out of the Great Depression, and then he dedicated himself to mobilizing the entire nation's strength for war. Under his leadership, the federal government orchestrated a massive economic mobilization, transforming factories that produced consumer goods into workshops producing weapons, tanks, and aircraft. A resurgent economy. Remarkably, it was this wartime mobilization that ignited an unprecedented economic recovery. It propelled industrial production to new heights and ultimately pulled the country out of the financial difficulties characteristic of the Great Depression era. Can you imagine an economy deep in crisis suddenly roaring back to life? The U.S. economy grew at an astonishing pace. Gross national product, GNP, soared from $91.1 billion in 1939 to $213.6 billion in 1945. This was an outstanding growth, transforming America into the arsenal of democracy. The long-standing unemployment problem after the Great Depression was completely resolved. The unemployment rate sharply declined from 9.9% in 1941 to 1.9% in 1943 and 1.2% in 1944. This was a record low in U.S. history, creating 17 million new jobs. Millions of people, from women to African Americans who were previously marginalized, now had the opportunity to contribute to the economy and find stable work. Government spending also increased significantly, from 8% of GDP in 1932 to 10.2% of GDP in 1936. This demonstrates the government's increasingly strong interventionist role, not only in managing the economy, but also in reshaping society as a whole. Factories operated at full capacity, cities bustled with enthusiastic workers, and a new spirit of optimism began to spread across the country, even as the war raged fiercely. This is a powerful testament to how, when faced with challenges, a nation can transform and rise stronger. Daily life under rationing. After the United States officially entered World War II, daily life for ordinary citizens changed profoundly. Though not on the front lines, every family became a part of the Great War effort. Can you imagine a life where everything, from gasoline to sugar and milk, required ration stamps? Ration stamps and victory gardens. To ensure resources for the war, a widespread rationing program was established in the spring of 1942. This program set strict limits on the amount of gasoline, food, and clothing consumers could buy. Families were issued ration books to purchase their allotments of everything, from meat, sugar, fats, butter, fruits and vegetables, to gasoline, tires, clothing, and fuel oil. Everything was tightly controlled. This meant every American had to learn to live frugally, making the most of what they had. Do you remember stories your grandparents told about waiting in long lines for their ration stamps, or carefully budgeting to make sure supplies lasted the entire week? But precisely in those difficulties, the spirit of community became stronger than ever. Communities actively participated in scrap drives. Old rubber, tin, kitchen fats, old newspapers, wood, steel, all were collected and recycled to support the war effort. This wasn't just collecting trash, it was an act of patriotism, a tangible contribution from every citizen. Alongside this, the Victory Gardens movement spread across the country. People grew their own food, reducing the burden on the distribution system and demonstrating the spirit of, "We're all in this together." From small backyard plots to empty lots in parks, millions of Victory Gardens sprang up, transforming every citizen into a quiet soldier on the home front. Do you remember any stories about ration stamps or victory gardens that your grandparents used to tell? Share your memories in the comments below. Wartime spending and income. Everyday life in the 1940s was very different from today, something our generation might find hard to imagine. In 1940, the minimum wage ranged from 30 cents to 40 cents per hour, with an average annual income of $1,299. Can you picture how people would manage their expenses with that income? Prices were also very different back then. A pack of 20 cigarettes cost about 15 cents. Coffee averaged 21 cents a pound. Milk delivered to your home was about 52 cents a gallon, and gasoline was 18 cents a gallon. The average home value in 1940 was $2,938. These numbers paint a completely different picture of the value of money and the cost of living. Car ownership was relatively common, with 51% of families owning a car in 1941, increasing to 56% by 1949. This shows that cars had become an essential mode of transportation, even if they were older models and required rationed gas. However, telephone ownership was less common, with only 46% of households having a phone in 1945. This meant communication primarily relied on letters or in-person meetings, fostering stronger community bonds. By 1947, food accounted for nearly 1/3 of total consumer spending. This reflects the importance of ensuring enough food for every family, especially in a context of scarcity and rationing. Family and community adaptation. Amidst these difficulties, families had to adapt in extraordinary ways. Mothers often meticulously mended clothes and even sewed shirts and dresses from flour sacks or feed bags. Can you believe it? These bags often came with printed patterns, transforming them into creative sewing material. It was a way to save every penny, while also showcasing the ingenuity and resourcefulness of American women. A family usually had only one car. Travel was often carefully planned to save gasoline. Laundry was often taken to a professional laundry service. Wet clothes were brought home to be line-dried outdoors, and then a lot of ironing was needed. This shows the lack of conveniences compared to today. Homes often didn't have air conditioning or hair dryers. Hot summers or cold winters had to be endured with traditional solutions and human resilience. Mothers typically cooked 3 meals a day, but family dinners were rare because fathers often worked very late, sometimes 7 days a week, to support the war effort. It was a life where personal sacrifice for the common good was self-evident. But it was precisely in this challenging context that community cooperation and government intervention, though sometimes hesitant and imperfect, played an extremely important role in helping the United States and its people overcome the darkest period of the Great Depression and confront the war. It was a decade where the "we're all in this together" spirit was most clearly demonstrated. Rosie the Riveter and the rise of women. Imagine a world where the role of women was redefined in just a few short years. A world where women, our grandmothers, stepped out of the kitchen and changed an entire nation. The 1940s was that time, and the image of Rosie the Riveter became a vivid symbol of this great transformation. Golden opportunities during wartime. As millions of American men were drafted to fight in the war, a severe labor shortage emerged in factories and industries. The government had to launch strong propaganda campaigns to recruit women into professions previously dominated by men. Can you imagine the shock this change caused to social norms at the time? These efforts led to a sharp increase in the number of women working in the defense industry, non-combat military roles, and healthcare. They worked in factories producing aircraft, weapons, and ships, and took on support roles for the military, from driving trucks to repairing machinery. The image of Rosie the Riveter, with her flexed bicep and determined face, became a symbol for millions of American women who entered the workforce to support the war effort. Before 1940, less than 15% of married women held paid employment, but the war changed this dramatically. Millions of women entered the workforce, proving their capabilities and dedication. Challenging social stereotypes. Women overcame significant discriminatory barriers and challenged traditional social norms with their crucial wartime labor contributions. They not only performed physically demanding and skilled jobs previously reserved for men, but also faced skepticism and prejudice from a segment of society. Recruitment campaigns for the Women's Army Corps popularized idealized images of military women who combined traditional beauty with wartime strength. For example, a WAC recruitment poster titled "Woman's Place in War" redefined the meaning of the common phrase, "A woman's place is in the home." It illustrated that World War II redefined the roles of American women in society, expanding their space from the kitchen to the factory floor and military barracks. Similarly, the Cadet Nurse Corps' recruitment campaign portrayed nursing as a proud profession, elevating the status of women in this noble work. A lasting legacy. Although after the war there were efforts to push women back into traditional domestic roles, with millions of women being laid off to make way for returning male veterans. Fashion trends also reverted to dresses and girdles instead of practical pants and jackets. Can you feel the social pressure to return to normalcy after the war ended? However, women's wartime contributions left long-lasting positive impacts on female employment, permanently changing American gender roles. By 1947, the proportion of women in the workforce had returned to 1940 levels. This shows that despite an immediate post-war decline, women continued to seek and maintain their positions in the economy. Women's participation in paid work outside the home helped them gain social respect and experience managing household finances. They challenged the idea that they belonged only in the private sphere and became a powerful force in the public space, moving one step closer to equality. These changes also foreshadowed permanent employment opportunities for women in the 1970s and 1980s. It can be said that Rosie the Riveter was not just a wartime icon, but also a pioneer for the later feminist movement. A multifaceted social landscape, opportunities and challenges. The 1940s presented a colorful social tapestry, but it was not without its dark threads. While the war opened new opportunities for some groups, it also brought painful challenges and injustices for others. New opportunities for African Americans. World War II spurred economic growth and created a massive demand for labor. This opened up employment opportunities and raised the social standing of African Americans. Did you know that before the war, many African Americans faced severe discrimination in jobs and opportunities for advancement? New Deal relief programs, especially the Works Progress Administration, so WPA, provided a crucial economic floor for the Black community in the 1930s. The WPA, as a primary source of income, was compared to agriculture and domestic service in terms of its importance in generating income for African Americans. Jobs in war factories brought higher wages and stability they had never experienced before. This not only improved their material lives, but also sparked hope for a more equal future. Severe challenges for Japanese Americans. While African Americans saw glimmers of hope, Japanese American citizens became victims of the most severe discrimination during the war years. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, fears of terrorism, espionage, and sabotage spread across the United States. Baseless fear and racial prejudice led to a regrettable act in history. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066. This order forced approximately 120,000 Japanese Americans living on the California coast to leave their homes, jobs, and possessions and be incarcerated in internment camps deep inland. They were stripped of their freedoms solely because of their ethnic origin, regardless of whether they were U.S. citizens or not. Their families were separated, property lost, and lives completely overturned. Additionally, about 600,000 Italian permanent residents and some non-naturalized German citizens also faced travel restrictions after Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy declared war on the United States in December 1941. However, these restrictions for Italians were lifted in October 1942, much earlier than for Japanese Americans. This incident remains a dark stain on President Roosevelt's human rights record. It reminds us of the painful consequences of fear and prejudice during wartime. Family and community life. In the 1940s, family and community life also had distinct characteristics that many of us today might no longer see. Schools were still segregated in some places, especially in the South. Black and white children attended separate schools, reflecting the deep divisions in society. Children living during wartime also had special experiences. Many schools held air raid drills, where children were instructed on how to take cover and protect themselves in case of an attack. It was a scary, but unavoidable part of their lives. However, children's lives weren't only about war. They still found joy in simple outdoor games like tag or Mother May I. They played innocently until the streetlights came on, signaling it was time to go home. Looking back at the 1940s, what about everyday life in America surprises you the most? Comment below. Light in the darkness, entertainment and spirit. Even during the darkest years of the war, Americans found small rays of light in their daily lives, especially through entertainment. Hollywood, music, and radio became close companions, helping to soothe anxieties and boost the morale of an entire nation. Hollywood and the power of propaganda. Throughout World War II, the American film industry received strong support from the government. This was because cinema had an excellent ability to boost public morale, convey messages, and strengthen the will to fight. Can you recall those old movie theaters with wooden seats, where everyone watched emotional films together? Audiences typically watched newsreels, about 10 minutes long, filled with images and reports of recent battles. These newsreels helped the public stay updated on the war situation, creating a sense of connection to the front lines. Following that would be a cartoon. Many cartoons even caricatured the enemy, sometimes with racist imagery, reflecting the prevailing views of the time. Documentaries also played an important role. Frank Capra's 7-part Why We Fight series, released from 1943 to 1945, emphasized the necessity of U.S. involvement in the war and the importance of Allied victory. These films were not only entertaining, but also powerful propaganda tools, strengthening patriotism. Famous Hollywood stars like Clark Gable and Jimmy Stewart enlisted and participated in combat missions. Their involvement not only boosted morale for the military, but also for the public, showing that everyone contributed to the war. Highly acclaimed films of this period include Casablanca, a classic story of love and sacrifice; Mrs. Miniver, a film about family resilience during wartime; Going My Way, which earned Bing Crosby an Oscar in 1944; and Yankee Doodle Dandy, an inspiring musical. Hollywood truly became a spiritual front. Evocative music. As the United States plunged into war, people listened more to patriotic or war-related music. Music became the voice of an entire generation. Songs captured the emotions of wartime, expressing the longing of loved ones separated by distance. Tunes like I'll Walk Alone, Shoo Shoo Baby, I'm Making Believe, and I'll Be Seeing You became popular. These were soft, emotional melodies that helped soothe the souls of soldiers on the front lines and their loved ones on the home front. In particular, the song I'll Be Home by Christmas, 1943, had a poignant note, topping the charts for 11 weeks. Bing Crosby's version, along with countless others, remained very popular. This song touched the hearts of millions, conveying the dream of a peaceful reunion. Radio and big band concert programs, like Glenn Miller's, brought music directly to listeners across America. Music was not just entertainment, it was hope, a thread connecting millions of hearts during the war. Radio and everyday life. Can you imagine a time without the internet, without cable TV, when even TV wasn't widespread? Radio was the primary source of news and entertainment for most American families during the war. Every evening, people increasingly relied on the radio for updates about the war overseas. Families often gathered around the radio every evening, usually in the kitchen, to listen to news and entertainment programs. It was a daily ritual where everyone collectively listened to stories, music, and important messages from the government. Besides war news, entertainment programs were also diverse, from humorous comedy shows to big band musical performances. Laughter and music helped to alleviate some of the worries. Some jazz lovers even risked not going to bomb shelters just to listen to recordings. They felt safe listening to music, a testament to the soothing power of music in the worst of times. Radio was not just a device. It was a family member, a bridge to the outside world, bringing both news and comfort. In the 1940s, if you could choose one favorite form of entertainment, movies, music, radio, what would it be? Let us know. Great strides in technology. While the world was engulfed in the smoke and fire of war, another quiet revolution was taking place in laboratories and research workshops. The 1940s was not only an era of war, but also a crucial germination period for the development of information technology, IT. Inventions from this period laid a solid foundation for the smart electronic devices and diverse software applications we use today. The genesis of information technology. Can you imagine that the first colossal, cumbersome computers were born precisely during World War II, out of the need for faster, more accurate calculations to serve the war effort? Key inventions during this period included the ENIAC computer and the transistor. They weren't just simple machines. They were the first bricks in building the modern technological world. ENIAC, the giant that started the computer era. In 1945, a colossal machine was born named ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. ENIAC became the world's first electronic computer. It was developed during World War II with the initial purpose of calculating firing tables for the U.S. Army artillery. This was an extremely important task, requiring speed and accuracy that humans could not achieve. ENIAC was a massive machine, occupying 167 square meters, equivalent to a tennis court, and weighing about 27 tons, as heavy as a large truck. Despite its size, it was 1,000 times faster than previous mechanical calculators, marking a breakthrough at the time. To build ENIAC, about 17,468 vacuum tubes were needed, and these tubes frequently broke down and required replacement. Programming ENIAC was difficult and time-consuming, using wires and switches similar to a telephone switchboard. Can you imagine a room full of wires and switches where engineers had to work meticulously to program this machine? ENIAC was a precursor to the development of other electronic computers, which were later used for various purposes. From calculating missile trajectories to weather forecasting and atomic energy research, ENIAC opened the door to a new era of computation and automation. The transistor, a historical turning point in technology, 1947. Just 2 years after ENIAC's debut, an even more revolutionary invention appeared. The invention of the transistor in 1947 at Bell Labs by William Shockley, John Bardeen, and Walter Brattain was a significant breakthrough. It ushered in an era of miniaturization, increased efficiency, and reduced costs for electronic devices. Previously, electronic devices used bulky vacuum tubes that consumed a lot of power and were prone to breaking down. Transistors were different. They were compact and much more efficient. This invention laid the foundation for the rapid development of technology in the following decades. It led to the advent of integrated circuits, ICs, and paved the way for the miniaturization of electronic devices. From compact pocket calculators to the smartphone you hold in your hand, all originated from this great invention. The advent of the transistor is one of the most important inventions in human history, serving as a fundamental pillar for the development of modern electronic devices shaping our world today. Leadership and global politics. The 1940s was not only a period of changes in daily life and technology, but also a crucial chapter in the history of leadership and global politics. This was the stage where America soared, transforming from a nation with an isolationist mindset into a global superpower. FDR, the president during crisis and war. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, served from 1933 to 1945 and was a central figure in world events during the first half of the 20th century. Can you imagine the immense burden he carried leading a nation through the two greatest crises in modern history? He led the federal government through most of the Great Depression with his ambitious New Deal program. The New Deal was not just a package of economic policies, but a new philosophy about the government's role in people's lives, bringing hope and jobs to millions. His third and fourth terms were entirely dominated by World War II. FDR provided strong diplomatic and financial support to the Allies. He supplied weapons, food, and essential supplies to China, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union through the Lend-Lease program, totaling a colossal $50 billion from 1941 to 1945. This was a groundbreaking program, demonstrating America's determination to support Allied nations even before officially entering the war. From isolationism to intervention. Before the war, the U.S. pursued isolationism. After the losses of World War I, many Americans did not want their country to intervene in conflicts in Europe and Asia again. But the attack on Pearl Harbor changed everything. It was an electric shock that awakened an entire nation. On December 8, 1941, President Roosevelt officially declared war on Japan. Just 3 days later, when Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S., in response on December 11, 1941, the U.S. officially entered the European theater. This was the moment when America completely abandoned isolationism, accepting its role on the world stage. FDR oversaw the mobilization of the entire U.S. economy to support the war and implemented the Europe First strategy. This meant defeating Nazi Germany before focusing all efforts on Japan. This was a crucial strategic decision that shaped the course of the war. His administration also oversaw the construction of the Pentagon, a symbol of American military might, and initiated the development of the world's first atomic bomb, an invention that completely changed the landscape of warfare and geopolitics thereafter. America becomes a superpower. Under FDR's skillful leadership, the United States emerged as a global superpower after the war. America came out of the war with relatively low casualties, around 330,000 lives, accounting for 0.2% of its population. This figure sharply contrasts with Britain, 1% of its population, and the Soviet Union, 16% of its population nations, that suffered far more terrible losses. The U.S. accounted for nearly 60% of global industrial output, transforming the country into a massive factory producing goods for the entire world. The U.S. also held 3/4 of the world's gold reserves and was the world's largest creditor. This overwhelming economic and military power elevated the U.S. to global leadership, ushering in a new era of Pax Americana. A view of American life during the 1930s-1940s. A couple and their Cadillac V16 automobile. Harlem, New York City, 1932. A family photographed at their home in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, July 1938. Cowhands and Girls, Custer National Forest, Montana, 1939. A Lady with the Ford, U.S., 1935. Young Packing House Workers, Canal Point, Florida, February 1939. Life magazine photographer Margaret Bourke-White takes a photo from the 61st floor of the Chrysler Building, New York City, 1934. Lines of cars along highway before a Duke Carolina football game, Durham, North Carolina, November 1939. Miami Beach, Florida, 1939. Garment workers leave the factories for lunch, New York City, June 1936. Three unemployed men wait outside the Salvation Army, San Francisco, California, 1939. Santa shakes hands with Mickey and Minnie Mouse, Central Park, New York City, December 1935. Descendants of slaves of the Petway Plantation, Gee's Bend, Alabama, February 1937. Main Street, West Texas, November 1939. On the road with her family, 1 month out South Dakota, Tula Lake, California, September 1939. Buyers and farmers wait outside a warehouse during auction sales, Durham, North Carolina, November 1939. Farmers wait outside a warehouse during a tobacco auction sale, Durham, North Carolina, November 1939. New York City on a rainy evening in 1939. Sunbathing, Revere Beach, USA, 1937. State Capital Des Moines, Iowa, September 1939. Radio Row, NYC, April 8, 1936. What defined American life in the 1930s? 1. Economic hardship and the Great Depression. 2. Technological innovation and urban expansion. 3. Post-war recovery and prosperity. 4. The rise of consumer culture. Leave your answer in the comments below. The correct answer will be revealed at the 30th minute of this video. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Modeling seat covers for 1933. Zier Diner, South Los Angeles, 1931. Delivery of the new 1936 Buicks. (1933) Plymouth and Bathing Beauty. Kids on the running board of a 1936 Pontiac. (1931) Ford at Paul's Place gas station. Glendale, California, 1936. Wells Beach, Maine, 1938. California Service Station, 1934. Seattle, Washington. (34) Ford picked up by manual crank tow truck. Kramer's Wigwam gas station, Browning, MT, 1935. Simon's Drive-In, Wilshire BLVD, Los Angeles. (1937) DeSoto parked next to a Model T. (1936) Jensen with Ford V8. Coke delivery trucks, Lexington, KY, 1935. Post office, Glen Ellen, Illinois. Manhattan skyline from Brooklyn, 1936. Modeling in front of a 1930s Willys. Blackwood Service Station, California. the corner service station. Westinghouse Trade Show, Lexington, KY 1933. Around the campfire at Huntington Beach, CA. Publicity shot for the Frank Dillon Tire Co. J.J. Hickey Gas Station, Ann Arbor, MI 1938. An early drive-in theater. Two girls sunbathing, Revere Beach, Massachusetts, 1937. Pontiac convertible coupe at Tanforan Racetrack, San Bruno, April 17, 1935. Migrant workers near Prague, Oklahoma. Photo by Russell Lee in June 1939. McAdams and Morford Drug Store, Lexington, Kentucky, 1939. A street in Washington, D.C., busy with people and vehicles. Harrison Ewing, 1935. A crowd outside the Regal Theater in Chicago, Illinois. Russell Lee, 1941. The Fulton Fish Market in New York City. Berenice Abbott, 1936. People leaving Pilgrim Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois on Easter Sunday. Russell Lee, 1941. Union Square, Manhattan, New York City. Berenice Abbott, 1936. Sergeant George Kemblair taking his girlfriend to the movies in Washington, D.C. Jack Delano, 1942. Men standing outside a grocery store in Shawneetown, Illinois. Russell Lee, 1937. Pushcart fruit vendor at the Fulton Fish Market, New York City. Gordon Parks, 1943. Fifth Avenue and 42nd Street, looking west from Seymour Building, New York City. Berenice Abbott, 1937. The San Angelo Fat Stock Show Parade in San Angelo, Texas. Russell Lee, 1940. A street in Norwich, Connecticut after a snowstorm. Jack Delano, 1940. Washington, D.C., 1934. Kingston, New York, 1934. (1930) Police cruiser and 2 motorcycle cops. Ed Couch, Texas, 1939. Carpenter Drive-In, Sunset BLVD, Los Angeles. Marcus Motors, Denver, Colorado, 1938. Central Park, New York City, 1933. Smithfield, North Carolina, 1936. Manhattan, 1932. Yakima Valley, Washington, 1936. Florida, 1937. Pulaski County, Arkansas, 1935. Chandler, Arizona, 1940. California, 1939. Cincinnati, 1936. Workers' camp near Holtville, California, 1937. Winter Haven, Florida, 1937. Oklahoma, 1942. Person County, North Carolina, 1937. Workers' Camp Sunday School, California, 1937. America in the 1930s. Tupelo, Mississippi, 1935. A march of unemployed men in Camden, New Jersey during the Great Depression, 1935. Pie Town, New Mexico, 1940. A young boy in the Alabama countryside with eroded land behind him during the Great Depression, 1935. Unemployed men looking for a job during the Great Depression, 1935. Unemployed men at the Volunteers of America Soup Kitchen in Washington during the Great Depression, 1936. A covered wagon in a migratory carrot pullers camp during the Great Depression, 1935. A migrant family looking for work in the pea fields of California during the Great Depression, 1936. Orpheum Theater, Minneapolis, MN 1933. Girl on the bumper of a 1931 Chevrolet. Cool Motor Gas Station, Cleveland, OH, 1939. Tanker Service Station, Minneapolis, MN. (1938) Oldsmobile at San Francisco Bay Bridge. New York Stock Exchange, 1929. Gulf Service Station, 1931. Food Line in New York City, 1931. Supper in Dugout Home, New Mexico, 1940. Michigan, 1940. Roadside Camp in Kern County, CA, 1938. New York City Docks, 1935. Hamilton County, Ohio, 1935. Dallas, South Dakota, 1936. Elm Grove, Oklahoma, 1936. Leaving South Dakota, 1936. Smithland, Iowa, 1937. U.S. Highway 99, California. Moving Day in North Florida, 1936. Hamilton County, Tennessee, 1937. Kern County, California, 1938. New York City, 1936. Nipomo, California, 1936. Tenement house in Brockton, Mass., 1940. Otto Camp in California, 1936. Relief Line in New York City, 1930. Malheur County, Oregon, 1939. A young girl who is a migratory worker besides the tent in which she lives at Kern County, California, during the Great Depression, November 1935. People lined up outside of a bank during the Great Depression, 1933. A young man standing in front of an Italian-American employment agency looking for a job in San Francisco during the Great Depression, 1936. An unemployed, destitute man leaning against vacant store during the Great Depression, 1935. A woman with her child beside her car, piled up with all her possessions during the Great Depression, 1935. The correct answer is 1. Economic hardship and the Great Depression. The 1930s in the United States were primarily defined by the Great Depression, marked by widespread unemployment, poverty, and significant social and economic challenges. This era also saw the implementation of New Deal policies by President Franklin D. Roosevelt to address these issues. Migrants in their car during the Great Depression, 1935. A man dressed poorly, walking with his head down, walks with shacks in the background during the Great Depression, 1935. A young Oklahoma mother, aged 18, penniless, stranded in Imperial Valley, California, March 1937. A young girl who is a migratory worker besides the tent in which she lives at Kern County, California during the Great Depression, 1938. Unemployed insured workers registering for jobs and filing benefit claims at a state employment office during the Great Depression, 1936. Christmas dinner in the home of Earl Pauley near Smithland, Iowa during the Great Depression, 1935. A homeless man during the Great Depression. Families on the road with all their possessions packed into their trucks, migrating and looking for work during the Great Depression, 1935. Breadlines in New York during the Great Depression, February 1932. The 1940s were a time of challenge and change, but also of incredible resilience and unity across America. Through war and hardship, everyday life transformed, opening doors to new opportunities and innovation. These stories aren't just history, they're living memories, echoing through generations. What do you remember most about the 1940s? Share your thoughts below. Your memories matter here. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe and share our channel so you don't miss the next nostalgic story.